There was plenty of times where I would wake up in the middle of the night and my wife is wake up, wake up,
Right,
wake up, wake up,
right.
wake,
Yeah,
wake up, breathe,
that's
breathe.
right. That's
And
right.
I could see the fear in her eyes. And that made me feel really bad.
Yeah,
Never got it addressed until last year, but I'm glad I did
yeah, yeah.
because um, according to my doctor, people who get on that CPAP don't get off of it and they get to the point where they don't even use it anymore. There's an app that goes with the machine. And since I've got that machine, I've missed maybe 4 nights of
Hmm.
using it. And the
Wow.
doctor, when I went back for my 3 month, he said, "Wow, you've used this thing every night."
Welcome to the Protecting Your Nest podcast. I recently shared a video on YouTube with the title Looney Tunes for Carnivore. Many carnivores commented in the video comments about how the carnivore diet has healed them, and maybe you should do the same if you're checking out this episode. A few days after the recording, I got curious and wondered, why did Disney call its characters Looney Tunes in the first place? The answer is that the name was inspired by Walt Disney's Silly Symphonies and is a play on the word symphony. In the 1920s, Disney produced short animated films called symphonies that were set to music and promoted the sale of sheet music and records. Later, the Warner Brothers studios began producing their own animated short films called Looney Tunes in the 1930s. Now, you may be asking, what the heck does that have to do with low carb, keto, or carnivore rail? Well, it's quite simple. According to Harvard Health, experts say the carnivore diet has many risks because it's a highly restrictive diet that lacks important nutrients and fiber. It is Harvard's belief that the carnivore diet is problematic and people who use it are probably loony or crazy. So, and the things they worry about is that, well, there's not enough fiber, so it's going to impact your gut. It's high in saturated fat, and it'll increase your so-called bad LDL cholesterol and increase your risk for heart attack. They think that it's going to increase your risk for kidney stones and kidney impairment. And they also believe that it's deficient in vitamins and minerals. But most importantly, they think nobody can sustain such a loony diet, you know. So fortunately, this has all been debunked, and I won't bore you with the details, but I did make a video on YouTube where I show my response to Harvard, and we'll share that in the podcast notes. But for today, I wanted you to meet a fellow carnivore who Harvard would consider loony for using the carnivore diet to heal. But after you hear his story, it's Harvard who may be the one that's loony after all. Today's guest is Kenneth Hill. Kenneth is a Chicago native and is married and has 3 beautiful children. He works as an outreach specialist. He performs inspections for weatherization products such as air sealing and attic installation. He also attends public events to inform utility customers about rebates they may be eligible to receive. He loves to fish, read, and watching sports, which I totally agree. Mostly football for him, basketball for me, and mixed martial arts. I see it. Chicago Bears for life. He likes to learn, which is why he learned that the carnivore diet was the way to go for him. And I'm really excited to have him on the show. And definitely check out that video, guys, on YouTube where we kind of introduce Kenneth to my audience. So, Kenneth, thank you, my brother, for being here and representing Chicago so well on the Protecting Your Nest
Absolutely.
podcast. That's
Thank you for
right.
having me, Dr. Hampton. I really appreciate that intro and I appreciate your time.
Well, I appreciate you, and let's have some fun and
Let's
just
do it.
talk to. Let's make it happen. So, um, obviously, there's a lot of things that I may have shared about you briefly, but anything else you want to share with my audience about who you are?
Like you said earlier, I am a Chicago native, born and raised on the south side of Chicago from two hard-working parents. They
Mm,
raised 5 kids in Inglewood. All of us grew up to just be really inquisitive children and grew up to be even more productive and still inquisitive adults. So I can't take any credit for it. It's all about the way I was raised and the way I was raised on the south side of Chicago, despite what you may hear on the news. So I decided to keep that tradition going, and I'm doing that with my wife for our children as well. So I love spending time with my family. I love hanging out. Pretty boring type of guy. Like you said, I like to read. I like to watch podcasts. I listen to podcasts, documentaries. When football season is here, I'm super happy. When it's gone, I'm upset, but I still watch mixed martial arts as well. So when I don't have anything sports related going on, I'm always researching things. So that was the
Yeah.
way I found this way of eating.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And again, I guess I'm boring too. I enjoy, listening and learning just as much. And if I'm free, I even, my family may say, watch a movie. I'm gonna sit here and learn something. That's just who I
Same way.
am. So I think we have the same thing in common. During our YouTube video, we had that Looney Tunes theme, which is why I wanted to keep that theme going. But when you're a Looney Tune, my brother, your friends and family may look at you sideways when you start eating animal based. So, you know, what, you know, how does your family respond to a guy who's eating such an extreme diet like carnivore? What are they saying to you?
That's a great question. I've had mixed results from telling people about it, but overwhelmingly it's been more positive lately because not only have they heard what I've said, they've seen the transformation. So it's kind of hard to deny that something works if I'm telling you and you can see the results of it as well. So like I said, I like to share things. So I'm the type of guy, I go through, hey, I got my Living Well app. Here, look at my numbers. These are what my numbers
Right.
used to be. This is what they are now. This is how I got there. So in the beginning, like I said, it was kind of, mm, you're going to eat all that saturated fat. It's going to clog up your
That's right.
arteries. You're going to have a stroke. Your mother had a stroke. You don't want to go down that road. You got it in your blood. So as they see it and they see the results, not just physical results, they see the numbers because they've been
That's right.
struggling as well with their numbers. They have some of these metabolic diseases
That's right.
that I'm trying to avoid. And now it's not like I'm a Looney Tune anymore. It's like, hey, how would you get started? What
Right.
should I do if I was considering doing this? Like, where would I begin? So I'm starting to
Yeah.
get more of that, and by me starting to hear that tune as opposed to hearing more negative
That's right.
feedback, it's more so now I'm more comfortable sharing this information with them, and now they're more receptive to hearing it as well. So no longer am I a Looney Tune. I'm that guy that, hey, I'm going to ask Ken something. I'm going to see what his thoughts are about this and where I can get
Yeah.
more information about it.
I love that. So literally the tune has changed. I
The
remember that
tune has
show we used
changed.
to name that tune. Well, the tune has gotten very popular, and it's really
Absolutely.
nice that your best evidence is what you see in front of me. But it's also, let's look at the data, and if the data
Yeah.
is saying I'm metabolically healthy, then you can't argue with the numbers. So I really appreciate you, being patient with people and allowing them to just see the information in front of you. So I love that. Now, when I started, I mentioned the Harvard study and them feeling things are dangerous. You just mentioned saturated fat. I mentioned fiber and kidney
Yes.
problems and nutrient deficiencies. So when you started your journey initially, uh, what things scared you a little bit that made you pause about even thinking about this?
The first thing that scared me was my initial weight. Um, I woke up one morning, this was 2016, I believe it was 2017, and I stepped on the scale, and the scale said I was 273 pounds.
Mm,
Now, mind you, I'm 5'8", and I didn't want to believe it. I thought the scale needed batteries. Fast forward to a day later, I weighed myself again. I'm 271 pounds. And so I said, oh, wow, this is real. I
yeah,
scheduled an appointment. I got my blood work done with the doctor. And the only number that he was truly concerned with was my blood pressure. It was a little bit high at the time. I want to say it was like in the 130s, over 85 or higher. It was in that range. I was in that pre-hypertensive range.
yeah,
Um, he didn't say anything about the A1C at all. My HDL was pretty low. My At the time, my vitamin D was 7, doctor. So
Mm.
he was really concerned with the vitamin D. Other than that, hey, lose a couple pounds, eat less, move more.
Yep.
Um, Come back in 6 months, we'll do these labs again, and we'll go from there. But there was no real urgency on the doctor's part, so I started doing the research myself. It took me some time to
Mhm.
find out the best way to do it, and I tried a few different types of diets. I went low fat,
Mhm.
where I was eating um, skinless chicken breast with broccoli and brown rice, and I might eat half of a sweet potato with just a pat of margarine, a sprinkle of salt, and that was it. I did that, and I coupled that with intensive exercise. Now, mind you,
Mhm.
I was close to 40 at the time, hadn't worked out seriously in over a decade. Having a
Mm.
wife and kids is kind of hard for me. It was hard for me at the time to squeeze that in, but I didn't see the results that I was looking for. I ran, like I said, I listened to a lot of different podcasts, and I listened. Joe Rogan is one of my favorite podcasters,
No doubt.
and I came across Jordan Peterson on there, and he was talking about the carnivore diet. And I listened to this 3-hour podcast, and I'm like, this guy is crazy. There's no way I'm going to try that. But let me research it. I did a couple Google searches. Carnivore diet is catching a new wave. Like, what's the big deal? Like, how do you start? And then I found keto. So I said, keto sounds a little more reasonable.
Yep.
I
Yep.
can do higher fat. I can do high protein. And I can lower the carbs because I've never been like a big sweet eater. When I was a kid, I ate a lot of candy. I think you said you grew up on the south side of Chicago. So you're familiar with the penny candy lady. We had one
Mhm.
on every block. Like
Mhm.
they sell penny candy and cookies and all that good stuff. But as an adult, my thing was fries, burgers, pizza, like those hidden carbs that we don't really recognize as sugar, and I
Mhm.
would eat that with a milkshake as well. So you got a 24-ounce milkshake, 32-ounce milkshake from whatever restaurant, and you swallow that down, and you go into that lightweight coma.
Mhm.
So once I realized I had to change those ways, I said I'm gonna try this keto. I tried
Yes.
keto, and instantly I started losing weight, and I'm like, there's no way I'm losing fat this fast. So I started doing a little more research, and I found out that there was a lot of fluid that was built up in my body. So
Mhm.
it wasn't fat that I was burning initially. It was a lot of the extra inflammation being excreted from my body. So in that first go around, I lost 20 pounds that first month, and that was amazing. So I started
Mhm.
telling people about it. And yeah, okay, you lost 20 pounds. Anybody can lose 20 pounds. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you should go
Mhm.
back to the doctor. Um,
Mhm.
Circumstances being what they were, I got down to my lowest weight back in 2020. I got down from like I said, I started out at 273 in 2016. Now we're going to 2020. I got down to 212 pounds, which
Mhm.
is my lowest. So I had a situation to where I'm feeling healthy and I'm hanging out with the kids a little more. And there's a show that comes on YouTube where they eat hot wings and they ask each other questions. So it's like a hot sauce challenge. So what I did was I was with my kids and we were having, I love hot sauce. So we had a couple different hot sauce and we were eating pork rinds, and I'm having my kids try the hot sauce, and we're having a good time. So I'm standing there for about 20 minutes or so, and we're all done. And I won obviously because I'm the hot sauce champ. But I was getting ready to put the hot sauces away in the cabinet, and I started to feel a little dizzy, and I couldn't really explain it. So I'm like, I'm gonna have a seat. So I took the hot sauces, I put them in the cabinet, and I'm just not feeling right. And I looked back at the cabinet, I noticed that I had set one of the hot sauces right on the edge, and it was getting ready to fall.
Mm.
And then I hear my wife say, "What are you doing on the floor? Like, what are you doing?" And I hear my
Really?
kids saying, "Dad fell. He hit his head." And
Wow.
I kind of find my bearings, and I am looking at the bottom of my kitchen table. I don't know what happened, and I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't know what happened. So I stood up, and the next thing I know, I open my eyes, and my wife is sitting on the floor. My head is in her lap, and she's on the phone with 911. Yeah, he passed out again. Please come. They come. I tell them, hey, I've been trying this carnivore diet for the past 2 weeks. I've been keto. I've lost a lot of weight. Oh, your blood sugar's probably low. They take me out to the ambulance, slap leads on me, check my sugar. Blood sugar was 75. Nothing wrong with my EKG. You hit your head, you're going to the hospital. So go to the hospital, CT scan. They do another chest scan. They keep me in the hospital for about 6 hours. We can't find anything wrong with you. So I told them what I was doing, and they said, well, how long were you standing in one place? I told them it's probably about 20 minutes or so. And I do sometime when I stand up lock my knees. And the ER doctor's like, oh, you had a syncopal episode, if I'm saying that correctly. You had an episode of syncope. What's syncope? He said, well, you can lock your legs. It disrupts the blood flow. Once you bend those knees, the blood flow rushes and you can pass out. Followed up my primary care. I told you that carnivore diet was going to get you, and now you're passed out in front of your babies, and you really should be ashamed of yourself because you did that in front of them, and now you have them feeling bad. And I started really feeling bad because I'm listening to this doc. She's the professional,
Right.
and I started second guessing myself. Maybe I shouldn't do this. So her suggestion was to go to a cardiologist. Go to the cardiologist. He looks at me, looks at my scan. So everything looks fine. I'm like, okay, so why did I pass out? He's like, well, the ER doctor told you that, you had your legs locked and, it was syncope. So that's what happened. But if you want to be safe, let's do a stress test. Okay, cool. Let's do the stress test. Schedule me the stress test. I go, didn't know what to expect, but I get there. They tell me I have to get on this treadmill and they're going to put leads on me and I have to run as long as I can till I get to a target heart rate. And, I have to let them know 60 seconds before I need to get off so they can plop me down on this table, do an ultrasound of my heart, and we can go from there. Now, like I said earlier, Doc, I haven't ran in years. Like, only thing I run is this household. That's it.
Right.
I run up a bill. I will run up
Right.
other things, but I haven't run in years, so I'm nervous. But I get on the treadmill, I run. We start walking. 3 minutes is okay. So it elevates. It goes a little faster. Now I'm jogging. 3 minutes later, it goes up. Now I'm running. 3 minutes later, it goes up a little more. Now I'm running, and I'm looking at the timer, and I'm like, I've been doing this for 10 minutes. Like,
Wow.
I ain't never did this before in my life. Like, I've never done that before without stopping.
Wow.
And the doctors and the nurses are like, you let us know 60 seconds before you need to get off. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm good. I get to 11 and a half minutes, and I start to feel it. And they're like, well, you're at your target rate. You ready to come off? Sure. They plop me down on the table. They do the ultrasound of my heart, and the doctor, he looks at it for about 35 seconds, and he says, all right, we all done here. You're good to go, Mr. Hill. All right, you take care. And he walks out the room and says, hey, hold up, come back here. So I did all this for what? He said, well, you did also find out that your heart is fine. Whatever you've been doing, keep doing it. And that's what I did.
That's right. Wow. So one doctor says, you're killing yourself. The other doctor says, keep doing what you're doing.
He said, keep going. He said, keep going.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that you kept going. And there's so
Me
many things about this that's it's scary, man. You never know when you have that test. Are they going to see something? Because as you know, you don't have to be an old man to have a heart problem. We think about our friends and family, and so many are in their 40s and 50s, and they're like, some of them are dying at these ages. So it's like, it's our age doesn't really protect us anymore.
It doesn't.
And but I'm not surprised. Also, I think everybody needs to know when you start these diets. Again, carbohydrates attract water. So whether you're doing low carb, keto, or carnivore, low carb gets rid of water. So that's why, and then it gets rid of electrolytes. So sometimes we do electrolytes because of that, and we need to make sure we have sufficient salt, which is so opposite of what you would hear.
Yes.
And when you start this diet, man, you have glycogen, which is like a form of fuel. It's like glucose stored in your muscles, in your liver, a little bit in your fat cells. And when you, and this is what people don't know, for every like 1 gram of glycogen, you have 3 grams of water, right? So the first thing that's going to happen when you start this journey, you're going to you gotta deplete your stores because you're eating in a way that's gonna make you deplete the glycogen.
It
And when
makes
you
so much
deplete the
sense.
glycogen, the water is going to go with it. And it's a 1-to-3 ratio. So that's one of the reasons why you lose so much water. There's also the insulin's going to be impacted. So when you have a lot of insulin is going to make you hold on to salt, which is why insulin is such a problem for people with blood pressure, for example. But when you get rid of the insulin, because you're not really needing insulin for your fat and protein on a animal-based diet, all of a sudden you're gonna be able to get rid of the salt, and that's one. Again, you're needing the electrolytes, but when you get rid of the salt, the water follows, right? So it's just
Exactly.
one of those things that it's all logical when you understand how it works. Now you've made this change, and again, I'm going to eat ribeye tonight, the night of this recording. My question is this: people worry about. Harvard said it's not sustainable, right? So
Right.
for you, how sustainable has it been? Well, how has that gone for you?
It's been very sustainable, and that was one of the things that the doctor that told me that I should be embarrassed that I was on that diet. She told me that it's not sustainable. You're not going to be able to do it. But I haven't had any issues other than earlier this year. I don't know if you remember, but I'm pretty sure you do. But eggs had got up to about $4 a dozen, and that was probably the hardest thing I had to go through.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's been fine. I got a Sam's Club membership. I go to GFS. I buy a lot of things in bulk, and when you
Yeah.
buy it in bulk, it's a lot cheaper. And me having a bigger family, I always have things on hand, just in case emergency happens. So
That's
I
right.
keep the freezer full with burger patties. If I find like recently, I found ribeye on sale for $8.99 a pound. I'm not too far from you, doctor. How often do you see ribeye at $8.99 a pound?
Yeah. Not often.
You
That's
know,
right.
I bought 10 pounds of ribeye.
I
So,
know that's right.
so yeah, right. So so it's there. I still got two steaks in the freezer right now. So it hasn't been hard to sustain at all. Not at all.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I remember one of the YouTubers. His name is Homesick Buckeye. You
I
can
know
check out
homesick.
his YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
Russ.
crazy. Russ is a crazy
Yeah,
man.
yeah, I know Russ. I
And
watched him last night.
you
He had a
checked him
live.
out? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I need to get on his Tuesday thing in the future, and maybe what we should do. Maybe me and you can go on his channel
That would
and
be
talk to
awesome
him. I'm gonna
because
invite. I'm gonna reach out.
yeah, he does. Like last night, I noticed he puts a link to StreamYard in all of his lives. And last night he had there's a couple people in there, but there was a Dr. Nelson Vasquez. Is that his name? I'm
Yeah,
not
I know
sure.
who that is.
Yeah,
Yep,
he was
yep,
there as well. So yeah, he
yep.
always invites people to come, join the live
Yeah, we
stream.
should
So
do that,
that
man.
would be
Let's think
awesome.
of
I would love to.
a day we can do that in the next few weeks.
Okay,
And for those
sounds
who
like a
don't
plan.
know,
Let's do it.
Russ is probably one of the funniest YouTubers who's trying to talk about keto. So if
And
you
he's
want to
got a
hear,
great voice too.
he can sing, and
Yeah,
I bring him up because he did the same thing when he saw that there was a sale going on. He kind of tried to load up, but the problem is they tried to restrict how much he can buy.
they will.
So he got slick and he just kept coming back.
That's all you got to do. That's all you got
Just
to
keep
do.
coming back.
I don't
So
even
you
change
gotta,
my
you gotta
clothes. I just come
that's
on
right,
back.
exactly. Put on a disguise, like the
I'm not
celebrities
doing
do.
that. I'm going to buy it, go through the registry, put it in the truck, come on back,
That's right, and
buy
come
some
on
more.
back. That's right. So
Absolutely.
a little tip for those who are checking us out. So let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits you've experienced with carnivore. I want to kind of start with, I think there was like a pre-diabetes thing
Yes.
that was going on, and when you had that happen, how did you feel about that? Did you know much about diabetes? Did it make you nervous? What happened?
I knew all too much about diabetes. Both parents had diabetes. My mother, both were type 2. My mother was on the worst end. She took insulin. She had the sliding scale and the Humalog, and she took
Hmm.
the metformin and all that good stuff. And um, that was one of the reasons that I want to get that under control. I lost my
Yeah.
mother at 59 years old. She was 59
Oh God.
years
Yeah.
old, and she had a
Too young.
series of strokes due to complications from her diabetes and
Yeah.
a coronary artery disease. So,
That's it.
and that was
It's
one of the reasons that when I heard that I had pre-diabetes, I really said to myself, this time to get on the ball.
That's right. Well, sometimes our life experiences really serve us. It's a painful experience, nothing like losing your mom, but the the thing you learn from that experience, I know my mom suffered and I just don't want to suffer like that. And what those who are checking this out need to understand, they call it glycation when your glucose is sticking to your cells and to the proteins. And when it sticks, it's like glue and it just damages everything. And your blood vessels are everywhere. So it's going to damage your eyes, your kidneys, your brain, your heart, your extremities, and diabetes can be very deadly. So we don't want to just have a well controlled diabetes. We want to get rid of diabetes and type 2
Absolutely.
diabetes. So by you getting on top of this dietary pattern where you're primarily eating protein and fat, it's almost impossible to have diabetes with that dietary pattern. So I really appreciate that. You also had success with weight loss. I don't think we mentioned how much weight. Well, talk to me more about. You did mention numbers, but how much overall weight have you lost so far?
Since I saw you, I've lost an additional 2 pounds. So I've lost 62 pounds since January.
Awesome. And your life probably was a little different when you were heavier. Anything about that previous life that you can reflect on that's gotten better just because you lost weight?
Everything. My mood's gotten a lot better just
You
because I'm
seem like you're a nice
more
guy. I
mobile.
can't imagine you not having a good mood. So you don't have a
Nah, I
good mood
mean,
every day?
I am on TV though. I am on. I'm sorry, I am on YouTube right now. So I'm not a bad person. Don't get me wrong, but everybody has their own
That's right.
issues. I can get upset like everyone else, but now it takes a lot more for me to get upset. I'm
Yeah,
more likely to let things just roll off my back like water off a duck. So
that's right. I
that's
like
one
that.
thing. Another thing is too. Also, the same year I was supposed to be diagnosed with pre-diabetes, I was also diagnosed with arthritis of the spine, and that was scary because I actually thought I had pneumonia.
Mm,
That was really scary. So I did get to the point where my neck would hurt me really bad. I could barely move either direction. I couldn't
mhm,
go up and down. I would have to sleep a certain way. If I didn't, I would have pain in my shoulder and my
mhm,
neck and my back. And I would constantly take ibuprofen, which I know is terrible.
mhm.
I haven't taken ibuprofen this year since maybe March, and I normally would take it 2 to 3 times a week, a couple times a day during those times where I would take it weekly. That got a lot better. I haven't had any issues with my neck or in my with any arthritis, as well as arthritis in my knee as well. I haven't had any issues. I've been able to walk a lot farther. I've actually got a bike for Father's Day because that's what I wanted. My son has a bike, and I would take his bike and go for rides. But I got a bike for Father's Day, and I've been trucking, doctor. I've been out there
Mm,
going on 10-mile bike rides 3 times a week. It's not easy, but it's
mhm.
so rewarding because I can actually do it now. And I wouldn't have been able to do that at 260 pounds, at 270 pounds. I wasn't even thinking about lifting a weight at all. I didn't think about it. So that's another thing that got better. Another thing that got better too is my clothing, like the way my clothes fit, obviously because I lost a lot of weight. But I've purchased some additional clothing and it fits me different. Like I actually, if I
Mhm.
wear something that fits, even though I still have a little gut, I have more of an athletic shape to me now.
Right, right.
And that right there at nearly 45 years old, and I've never had that type of shape any time in my life, is another sign that I'm doing the right thing. And
That's
I'm just
right.
so thankful that I was able to find doctors like you, doctors like Dr. Berry,
That's
Dr.
right.
Vasquez, Dr. Boz, Jason Fung. I can keep on naming them
I know. I
because
know.
Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee. There's so many people that I've learned from, and I'm just so glad that I was able to learn it because it really has benefited
That's
me, and I'm
right.
I'm just so thankful for it. And that's why I always wanted to. Once I learned this way of eating, I wanted to share this with others.
Well, I'm glad you said that, and I should have said this in the intro. So for those who are checking this out, Kenneth Hill has a YouTube channel, and one of the things about his YouTube channel, and I'm gonna have you share exactly what that address is for YouTube, is that last video I commented on, you were just walking around sharing a message, right?
That's
So,
right.
and when you started talking about biking, I was like, man, you can just share this message and live your best life. And sometimes you want to hear from the doctor experts or the PhDs like Dr. Ben Bickman, but sometimes just hearing from somebody who's kind of living that life and going through it themselves. So I really encourage you guys to check out Kenneth's YouTube channel. So what's the hook for the YouTube channel?
The YouTube channel is KL Hill, KAELHILL 499.
Excellent. Now, this is a new YouTube channel, so we want to
Yes,
help Kenneth to grow. So I want to encourage everybody to check that out. And YouTube's a journey. And
it is.
if you go to his channel, just comment, say, yeah, I found you after seeing you or hearing you on the podcast, and that way we'll know that that's how you guys got connected. So I really appreciate you. So your mood's better, arthritis is better, your motivation. It's something about feeling so good that you want to actually exercise for the first
Yes,
time. So I tell patients, don't worry about exercise in the beginning, but you'll want to exercise when you're eating like a lion. You're going to want to behave like a lion, and you're going to, want to move that body. And then the appearance. Lions are attractive, and Kenneth has become more attractive in a way that honors the man he's all. That body was always there. It was just a little hidden. So
it
I
was
really
hidden.
appreciate that. I'm sure your wife don't mind. I'm sure your kids are envious and proud. So I really love all of that. One thing we also know, because I'm taking care of you also, is the sleep apnea thing. So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about sleep apnea, because a lot of people are hopeless when they deal with that. What's been the impact on that?
So the sleep apnea is another one too that I'm still struggling with, but it's actually getting a lot better. Again, my neurologist told me when I got diagnosed last year that I asked him, how long will I have to be on this CPAP? And he said, well, it's the way you're built. You're probably going to be on that the rest of your life because your structure is your structure. The way your tongue is built is the way your tongue is built. There's not too much you can do about that. But if you lose 25% of your body fat, then you can come back and talk to me. Said, okay, now this was last year in October. No, it might have been September last year. So I've been diagnosed with sleep apnea for almost a year. I've been undiagnosed sleep apnea sufferer for at least 20 years. For at least 20 years. And I talked about that in the video that you referenced earlier when I
Mm-hmm.
was walking around. But it was a lot of things that came together that it was like a perfect storm that helped me get on this path of health and wellness. It was plenty of times where I would wake up in the middle of the night and my wife is wake up, wake up, wake
Right,
up, wake up,
right.
wake,
Yeah,
wake up, breathe,
that's
breathe.
right. That's
And
right.
I could see the fear in her eyes. And that made me feel really bad. I
Yeah,
never got it addressed until last year, but I'm glad I did
yeah, yeah.
because, um, according to my doctor, people who get on that CPAP don't get off of it and they get to the point where they don't even use it anymore. There's an app that goes with the machine. And since I've got that machine, I've missed maybe 4 nights of
Mhm.
using it. And the
Wow.
doctor, when I went back for my 3 month, he said, "Well, you've used this thing every night. Like you're gonna be all right." But I
Yep,
started
yep.
out having a lot of events every night. Initially he told me when I did my sleep study that I had one of the worst cases of obstructive sleep apnea that he had ever seen.
Wow.
I guess the scale is from 0 to 30. He said I was at 62.
Mm,
So he said
wow.
basically you stop breathing once a minute.
Mm,
And that really that terrified me. But now, according to the app, I'm only having
mm.
one event per night on average.
Wow,
So it's getting
wow.
better. It's not done, it's not gone, but it's getting a lot better. And I'm seeing the benefits just by my energy levels. Like I said, I don't have that moment where if I'm driving in the afternoon where, I kind of doze a little bit, get a little tired. I don't get tired until it's time to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fact, no matter what. In days like today where I don't exercise, I didn't exercise today as I worked out for 6 straight days. So I
Mm-hmm.
took a rest day. When I get done here, I'm going to have to do something. I'm gonna have to go out for a walk. I'm gonna take my dog for a walk or something because I'm getting anxious. I need to
That's
do
right. You gotta
something.
keep it
I,
going.
I I just feel it, like you said. When you start eating like a lion, you start to feel like a lion. I feel like I got to
That's
go
right.
take something down right now.
That's right. Right.
So
Right. I
I'm
like
gonna get
that.
outside and go for a walk, at least a mile walk. I get out there for 20, 25 minutes.
That'll
Um,
work.
yeah.
I love it. There's this transformation changes who you are. It becomes a new normal. There used to be this guy who had the Bears outfit on, and they're thinking about getting home and sitting in front of the TV and maybe even having a beer and not thinking about exercise. And then you have this new version, still got the Bears outfit on, but now acting like a bear. And it's like I'm gonna go out here and go and handle my business. And I really
I
appreciate that.
have
And you're
to.
right.
Yes.
There is this sleep apnea thing does have a scale. And, I think, anytime you're at the 30 or more events per hour, man, that's severe. And then they have, different levels to this. Maybe 15 to 30 is more, moderate, and then 5 to 15 is mild, and of course less than 5 events is getting close to the normal range. And so uh, I think what I want people to hear is that when you look at my clinical practice, many people in my practice have lost a significant weight, and they are able to get off of a CPAP machine. Now, it is true that there's structural issues. Some people are genetically made in such a way that they struggle and they can't get off the machine. But it is also true, if part of that structural abnormality is the tongue, your tongue
Hmm.
will shrink when you do keto or carnivore. It will shrink. So, and sometimes it
Yes.
shrinks just enough where you don't have to be on that machine. Of course, if you sleep better, you also lose weight because poor
Yeah.
sleep leads to weight gain. If you
Absolutely.
don't drink excessive alcohol, you also do better with your weight loss. So it's a lot of factors, but at the end of the day, weight loss is the biggest factor, and likely the thing that has really affected you in the most positive way. I think just real quick, low carb, keto, carnivore. People are not really obligated to do any of them. It's just you do what works for you. Was
Hmm.
there any particular reason why I know you saw Joe Rogan and learned from those types of folk, Jordan Peterson and others, but why not just do keto instead of carnivore? Was there a reason why you landed there?
Oh, I started keto. I started keto. I did keto for it's probably about 6 or 7 months.
Mhm.
And over that 6, 7 month time span, I lost about 40 pounds.
Mhm.
And it wasn't bad, but I got to a point where for a whole month, I was just maintaining my weight. I didn't
Right.
lose any. I
Got a
think I
little
was
bit of a
stuck at
stall.
about I was stuck at about 220.
Gotcha.
And I said, you know what? I'm gonna try carnivore. And I
That's right.
tried carnivore. I went out and bought me a prime rib and I chopped it up. And over 14 days or so, I lost an additional 8 pounds. And I said, oh yeah, this is the way I'm going to eat. And then that event that I told you about where I passed out, that's when that happened.
Right. That's
So
right. Okay,
lights
cool.
out for keto, carnivore, everything after that. So I took a break after that because I was trying to figure out if I was doing the right thing. But I
That's
initially
right.
did start with keto.
Let me say this, it's hard to go backwards and imagine what led to you, falling out, but, when you're doing therapeutic carb restriction, that's anything less than, I would say, 20 or 30 carbs a day, total, not net, where you don't subtract the fiber and the sugar alcohols.
Right.
It's called therapeutic carb restriction for a reason, and that's because sometimes it will drop your blood pressure quite aggressively. So when people
Okay.
we live in a world where doctors don't deprescribe, but were you on blood pressure medicines at the time?
No,
You
no.
weren't at
My
the
blood
time.
pressure's
Okay.
always been fine. My blood pressure's been fine. It was just my A1C.
I got you. So even in a setting now, normally when we worry about this is people who are on medicines, right? But
Hmm.
because your body was kind of accustomed to, a different lifestyle, and you were transitioning, it's possible that when you went carnivore, your insulin level went so low that it may have dropped your blood pressure, and that alone may have
Oh
explained
wow.
things,
Okay.
particularly in the setting of a normal echo, a normal stress test, and all the things
Hmm.
you had. Everything looks normal. Like, what happened? You
Everything
may
was
have just,
normal.
yeah, you may have just dropped your blood pressure because your body hasn't had a chance to reset itself and get used to that. So that's just a possibility. Obviously, when we're problem solving, we're thinking about everything. But I am curious also, since I'm trying to speak to people who are like thinking we're Looney Tunes, right?
Right. Right.
So
Exactly.
in terms of the hardest, and what's the easiest thing about carnivore, and what's been the hardest?
The easiest thing is just the way I eat. I don't have to plan out days ahead of time. Like I
Right.
said, I keep a box of burgers in the freezer. So I go grab three of those burgers, throw them on the grill, fry up a couple eggs. I batch my bacon during the week. So I put my meal together in about 20 minutes and I'm done for the day. If I
Yeah.
do need
Yep.
something else to eat, I still have bacon. I go give me a couple strips of bacon and I
Hmm.
call it good. But it's really easy to plan out my meals. I don't have to like when I was on keto, like me and my wife got into meal prepping. So you know, we would have a breakfast, we would have a lunch, and we would have a dinner. So we have to chop all this stuff and then cook this and then batch everything
Right.
up and put it in
Right.
the fridge and then make sure we eat it before it goes bad. So there was a lot of checks and balances we had to go through there. I
That's
don't have to
right.
do that anymore. So it is a lot more sustainable because it's a lot easier for me to stick to it because I don't have to spend 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday preparing for the week.
That's right. That's right. But it sounds boring though. Like when you think about
No,
so you saying people say, man, that's it's not sustainable, man. That's boring. How have you dealt with that part?
it hasn't been boring to me. There are so many different types of meat that you can eat. Just this past Sunday, I went to the grocery store and they had spare ribs on manager's deal. I got St. Louis, not St. Louis, I'm sorry, baby back ribs for $3 a pack, $3 a
Ooh,
rack. Exactly.
what?
Exactly right. So I went and got them. I brought them in the kitchen. I seasoned them up. I fired up the grill and I threw them on the grill.
Mm.
That's nothing boring about that.
No.
Nothing at all boring about that. I go
Yeah.
sometimes and they'll have
Yeah.
a leg of lamb, boneless lamb legs for $30. Like you're talking about 5 or 6
Hmm.
pound lamb leg. I love lamb. Throw that on a smoker for about three
Okay.
hours. Eat that for a couple days. So it's really you can eat a lot of different things. It's not just burgers. It's not just steak.
Right.
I've had things this year that I didn't even know existed. There's a cut of meat called a lamb breast. It's like
Hmm.
lamb ribs almost, but it's not like the lamb chops. The really fatty, there's like a 50 fat to protein ratio. I
Hmm.
put those things on the grill. They are delicious and they were really cheap. And I think I got those for like $6 a pack. And we're talking about 2 pound packs. So,
Yeah.
it's really it's not hard and it's not boring because I always see something in that grocery store and I said, okay, I'm gonna try this week. As
Right.
long as
That's
it's
right.
got that fat marbling that I'm looking for, I'm
That's
gonna
right. Got
try
out
it.
of
I'm
fat.
gonna try it.
Yep. I like this
Absolutely.
because one of the things I was going to ask you is about how you make it affordable. But it sounds like if it's something on sale that you haven't tried, you're going to probably
I'm
grab it and,
I'm gonna
and, and
grab it.
figure it out. Right. And
Absolutely.
so I like that. That's a very simple principle. And it also, because it's different, the texture is different. Maybe how you prepare it is different.
Hmm.
And the one thing that's also different about carnivores is that some take electrolytes, some don't. Uh, I didn't really start taking electrolytes. I didn't actually do it on keto. I just made sure I salted my food really well.
Hmm.
But with carnivore, I did start to take electrolytes. Shout out to Keto Chow and their salty electrolytes, which is what I take. I have in my link
Yes.
tree. I have an affiliate link for that. But tell me, what are you feeling about the electrolyte question? Are you at that level yet, or are you just really just rolling with the diet?
So that's a great question. Earlier this year, actually started last year, I bought Keto Chow. I did try the Keto Chow. Didn't have a problem with it at all. But like you said, I've heard a lot of different doctors say if you salt your food,
Yeah.
you'll be fine. Um, I salt my food with iodine salt. I do take a 400 milligram magnesium every
Hmm.
day, and I
Yeah.
use that with now I'm doing 5,000 IU's of vitamin D and 12.5 milligrams of iodine daily.
Yeah.
Other than that, I haven't had any cramps. I haven't had any spasms or anything. I haven't broke out the keto chow in probably about 2 months.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll be honest. I have plenty of days I don't take it, but I think your symptoms will tell on you. So if you're starting to
Yep.
cramp and you're trying either keto or this carnivore diet, make sure that you're thinking about plenty of salt. And the experts uh, uh, will tell you you may need 5 to 7 grams of salt per day, which is like blasphemous to the people who don't understand these diets. So
Salt
salt
gonna give
is.
you high blood pressure.
I know that's what they're gonna think, right? But if you do this
Yep.
diet, you probably won't have high blood pressure for long. It's gonna eventually go
Exactly.
away. Uh, just because myself, you, and maybe even Russ are African Americans, and you're already you're really Looney Tunes if you're African American doing this, right? Because there's so few of us.
Come on,
So
doc. Tell the
it
truth.
is what it
Yes,
is,
sir.
right?
Yes, it
So we live
is.
in a world where it's plant-based, and that's what's considered highly regarded. So if you were talking to a friend, neighbor, friend who just happens to look like you, or any other community where people think we're Looney Tunes, any advice you would give them in terms of any removing some of the fears that they may have?
Yeah. First thing I do is like I spoke about earlier is I just kind of show them my before and after picture.
Right, right.
That right there is the attention grabber.
Yeah,
Once I grab your attention and you're listening, now I can go and I can open up my app and I can show you what my labs used to be and I can
right.
show you what they are now. And
Okay.
now we can talk about the conditions that you suffer from that I don't
Hmm.
have. And then we can go from there. So
Man.
that's how I approach it. You know, I used to be that guy, like when I first got it, I didn't have any proof of it. It was all anecdotal. So I was, hey, I lost 20 pounds in the past month. And they're like, yeah, okay, anybody can do that. Yeah, 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 whatever. But, you walk into the office one day, you look different.
Yep.
What's been
Yep.
going on? Like, oh, this is how I used to look. Your face is not as puffy. You're not okay. Oh,
That's
so
right.
what are you doing?
That's
I'm eating
right.
only meat. What?
I
That's
know.
crazy. You're gonna die of a heart attack. And I'm like, oh, here go my numbers right here. How'd you get your HDL above 50? How'd you get your triglycerides down to 75? How'd you do that? Like my
That's
triglycerides are
right.
200. Well,
That's it.
this is how I did it. You
This is
said
how
I
I
was
did it.
crazy. I'm not crazy. I tried
Nope.
it on myself. It worked. And I want to share it. If you want to hear it, fine. If you don't, that's up to you as well. But the bottom line is, I think we should get comfortable with being uncomfortable as a people.
Mm, I like
We've
that.
got you're a doctor, and there's nothing I can tell you about our distrust of doctors. Okay.
Right.
We got a big distrust of doctors. We don't believe nothing the doctor say until the doctor come in and say, we about to cut your foot off. Okay. But don't get the information from the doctors. Get the information from the people who are actually doing it, that are
Mm,
going to the doctors and getting that kickback from the doctors. Not kickback, they're getting that feedback, say, oh no, you shouldn't do that. But they're
that's right.
seeing their numbers change. There's a million people on YouTube you can go research right now that are doing this diet, showing results. And the difference between this community and vegetarian or vegan or Mediterranean or whatever other community is, this is the only community I've seen. They post their labs online for the world to see.
Right. That's right.
I haven't seen a vegan post anything. I've seen them post why you're gonna die because you're eating this way, and those numbers that you're
Mm,
putting on there, there's only going to be temporary. I've seen that, but I haven't seen their proof of their diet working. And if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that you said at one point in time you were vegan, correct?
Absolutely, I was for
Okay.
vegan and vegetarian for about 8 years. Yeah,
Okay.
and
Did you see any benefit?
oh man, well, I did. Well, I think this is the key. Like, if you listen to people who convert from the standard American diet to almost any diet, because you're eliminating processed foods, maybe. I
That
mean,
makes sense.
the
Yes.
Impossible Burger, maybe not, right? That's processed, but
No.
yeah, so that's garbage. But so if you eliminate sugars and processed foods, you're probably going to feel better initially. But there is a need to be aware of all the deficiencies that you may develop down the road. So the need to supplement is much higher with a plant-based diet than it is with an animal-based diet. Animal-based diet is basically electrolytes, and you're pretty good after that. But for a plant-based diet, I would, based on my research, it takes a little bit more effort. So you feel better,
Okay.
but for a person who suffers from stomach problems, too much fiber, too much bloating, too much gas, too much, it just wasn't, the fiber and the plants did not serve me well. So I knew
Okay.
if I literally, I have not done lion yet, but I'll be honest, I know that I'll probably feel my best if I go all the way to lion. So I
I
want to
thought
have
about
some.
doing it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, you just have to experiment, and I guess the next question is, somebody comes to you and they're engaged, they want to do keto or carnivore, and then they do it, they have success. What would you say to them about adding carbs back? Do you think that's a good idea? Is it okay to experiment with that as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think as long as you're getting the right type of carbs, you know,
Mhm.
I do frequently, from time to time, not frequently, but from time to time, strawberries. I love strawberries, love
Yep.
blueberries, love blackberries, raspberries. From time to time, I'll chop up some onion and bell pepper and scramble them in my eggs. So I don't have a problem with natural carbs when it comes from like
Mhm.
um, things like berries and low carb fruits and vegetables. Like I don't
Mhm.
have a problem with that at all. But when it comes to like, will I go buy a bag of apples and eat, 2 or 3 apples? Probably won't. I probably won't, eat any banana splits anytime soon.
Okay.
Um, I don't have a problem with people who want to add that back in because eventually, I do believe I will go more ketovore once I
Mhm. Sure.
get to my goal weight,
Your
which I
goal.
did want to
Yep.
ask you about, like, how do I know when I'm at my goal weight? But we'll get there. But I
Yeah.
will eventually add back in carbs on a regular basis.
All right, cool. And I'll be honest with you, it's gonna depend on, some of it is personal goals. Some of it is because the number one goal is metabolic health, right? So when we
Yes.
look at your labs, if your labs say you're metabolically healthy and your BMI is 30, and some of that 30 is muscle, LeBron James got a BMI of 30. So the BMI, body mass index, looking at your height and your weight, is a tool, but it's not as important as
Okay.
other things like your abdominal circumference, making sure your waist is not too big. That's going to be more important than the BMI. People of color, going back to that theme,
Yes.
um, may have the ability to have a BMI, which, they say try to keep it around 25, right? Well, people of color, particularly if your risk is a little wider, you're allowed to have a BMI of 27, 28, assuming your
Okay.
metabolic labs are okay. Where an Asian person may have to have a lower BMI because they start to have metabolic dysfunction at lower weights. And if you
Okay.
see a thin looking person from that culture and they got a little bit of a belly, they may be at a higher risk for heart disease and then South Asians, uh, people who, may appear like they're from India and places like that, they have a very high rate of heart disease that exceeds even people that look like me and you would never know it. You would just assume that they're healthy, but they have a lot of folks in their 40s and 50s who are having issues around heart disease. And
Mm.
it blew my mind when I learned that we have a really great leader in Advocate Health who is from that background, and he shared some data that blew my mind. So at the end of the day, there's no magic number. I think, trying to be under 30 is a good idea, but if you're doing muscle with that, and you actually represent the Bears like you're supposed to be.
Yes, sir.
You
Bear
know,
down.
amen. That's right. In fact, I'm actually going to be working with a trainer soon. I decided to just to
Okay.
play around with that, so that because you want to do things the right way. So I think
Absolutely.
that that's kind of where you want to go with that. So listen, man, this is really. I want to say to the audience that I'm gonna do a couple of more video shorts with Kenneth because I think he adds so much value. So make sure you check out the
Thank you.
YouTube channel for that. And before we remind you about Kenneth's YouTube channel, let's ask one of the questions I always ask guests, which is how you plan to protect your nest. So when you think about the acronym and the nutrition and the exercise, stress, sleep, your thoughts, recovering from trauma, relationships, avoiding things that harm you like organisms and pollutants, and of course your life experiences need to serve you and your emotions need to be safe. When you think about what you want to focus on beyond even the diet, what other areas do you want to give attention to?
Definitely want to work on my sleep. Like I said earlier, I do want to get off that CPAP. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
my first big goal. I've already attained my first goal, which was to get below 200 pounds. Haven't been below 200 pounds this century. So that was my first goal. My second goal, like I said, is to get off that CPAP. I've reversed all my metabolic diseases, so I need to get rid of that CPAP. Another thing I'm going to focus more on now is going to be exercise. Now, I did talk about that I do a lot of exercise, but my exercise is more so walking, which is fine, which is great.
Hmm.
Biking, which is great. I don't have a problem with that. But I do want to get back into weight training.
Okay.
So I think the day after I saw you, I went to the gym for the first time in a year, and I did a workout
Wow.
with the weight machines, and I felt pretty good that next day. I was shocked that I wasn't like just like stiff and sore. I was a little soreness, don't get me wrong, but I was okay. So that following week, I said I'm gonna go again, and I went one more time, and I went a little bit harder. And the most amazing thing was I hadn't lost any of my strength. I was actually, I keep a log of all the exercises I do. I was actually able to increase the weight on some of these machines. So
Mm.
that's going to be another focus for me over the next 12 months or so. Sleep and exercise. And I'll throw a third one in there as well with you having me on your platform. And thank you again for your time, Doctor. I really appreciate this. This means a
Absolutely.
lot to me. And I think this is going to be really big for the community as a whole. So I thank you very much. And I want to thank you. And I want you to keep doing what you're doing, get this message out here. And however you need me to or work with you, I'm willing to do it. So
I
thank you
love
for
that.
that. I really do. So I
Yeah.
want to build relationships over the next 12 months as well. And
All right.
that's another
So
thing I want to add to that. That
I think that's huge. In fact, let's
absolutely.
remind us, give us that YouTube again. Now spell it out again.
KAELHILL 499 on YouTube.
499. So I'm gonna take a quick peek at the channel right now in real
Okay.
time because I wanna get a sense of where you at. And
I've got
so
16 subscribers. I'm
that's what I
thankful
was
for all
looking at.
16 of
I,
them.
I Right. So I want you guys to hear me, guys. This is a community, and I can't do what Kenneth can do in terms of the things that have impacted him, rather it's the sleep apnea or any of the other things that he's going through. So I may bring some doctoring. I just had a stomach problem, but Kenneth may resonate with you. So let's make sure that that 16 does not remain 16 for long, and just give it a try to see if his messaging, how he approaches things, resonates with you, and we'll do our best to help you grow that channel.
I appreciate it,
Uh,
Doctor.
it's all about just keep sharing stuff, and people will take the journey with you. So when you're taking your walks or whatever, share your message of healing. You
Absolutely.
you represent your Bears well, you represent Chicago
Absolutely.
well, you
Thank you.
represent me well as a patient of mine, and I'm always humbled by just being in a position to just have these life experiences. Going back to my acronym, that serve all of us. And I want to be clear. I know you were being very gracious in thanking me, but I want to thank you, because it is really, when I hear success stories and people, they're kind of coming to me to get some feedback and advice. But listen, my life is so much richer because we are finally healing people. We're finally, and
Yes.
we're doing it. And it's not just you. I'm healing too. I don't want to have to think about a stomach being achy. So we're all doing well. I really appreciate you coming to this episode. Again, people,
No, thank you for having me. I
make sure
appreciate
you go back and check out the episode we did together where we talked about being Looney Tunes, and
it.
we'll appreciate. And as the Looney Tunes would say, before I make final comments for Kenneth, that that's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
And we're gonna move
Exactly.
on. We're gonna move on. So thanks
Absolutely.
again. Okay.
No, thank you, Doctor. I appreciate you.
No problem. So a few final comments as we wrap up, guys. And again, I'm so humbled by all of this. We had a chance to, at least to a certain extent, learn a little bit about the health benefits of eating an animal-based diet. Meat and animal-based products, guys, give us a lot of essential fatty acids, essential protein, and vitamins and minerals that will help us maintain our body and motivate us, as Kenneth said, to do some things that maybe we hadn't been doing. For those who need to, you can lose weight. For those who need to, only 7% of Americans are metabolically healthy, and obviously this dietary pattern will help you get there. And I can tell you, personally, my energy level is higher. My ability to digest food is easier. My mental clarity is higher. And when you eliminate processed foods and excessive carbs, you will reduce inflammation and really reverse most of the health conditions that we worry about. So carnivore may not be your answer. It may be ketovore. It may be keto, but most of us need to at least be doing low carb to achieve our health related goals. So if you're struggling with any health conditions that you really want to eliminate in your life, I suggest that you consider these dietary patterns. We're not crazy. We're not loony. We're just trying to heal and recover. And we found a dietary pattern that's helping us to do that. So if you've never done it, maybe 30 days, try it out, maybe 90 days. And if you're successful, why not keep going? Which is what Kenneth has done. That's what I've done as well. So I thank you guys again for coming to this episode of the Protecting Your Nest podcast. And until the next episode, continue to be safe, be well, and continue to protect your nest.